Hello, everybody. We're here. Hi. Aiden, nice to see you. Shade, Mantis, Tic Tac. How are you all doing today? There's my microphone. I couldn't find it. Okay, nothing's on the screen. That's to be expected for once. No, I don't want to. Wait a second. No. Why did it? Okay. It changed from the last time I opened it. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay, there's a lot of things that are actually different about this. What? Hold on. I'm sorry. So how are you all doing today? Can I, like, please? No. I don't want it to be that green. I don't know why it is. But anyway. How are you today? Are you all doing well? I feel as though perhaps this is what I need to do. Not Lars. Sad. So sad. Let me go to filters here real quick because I suspect... Yes. I fixed it. Okay. Except for the bottom. I don't know. Whatever. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Also, I have to turn on Mort here. Thank you, Tic Tac. Feed Schnink. Alright. I will feed Schnink. So we've got the 2025 TAS. I had to recut it this morning, and it finished processing like 10 minutes ago. So I swear to God, I hope that this is correct now, because it was cut very wrong, even though I quadruple checked it. But for those who are joining for the first time, let's just run over this like we usually do. A TAS is a tool-assisted speedrun. Technically, this is not a TAS because a TAS is supposed to be done by a computer. So the computer plays the game in like the most perfect way possible. This is not a task because I was the one playing the game here. It's a segmented run because I have taken all of the best segments that have ever been achieved and cut them all together. That's the difference here. So let's start this, and please make sure that it's the right one. Once I start, we can't stop. So get ready, chat. And also tell me if it's too loud, because you know, I can't hear it. So dawn of the final day. This is our last day of Treaksmas, everyone. Can you believe it? Any new things we won't expect. So there's nothing like... I feel like my microphone's a little bit loud. There's nothing like the glitching into the White Tower thing. Well, no, there's nothing like that. I did kind of glitch out the game a little bit, but it doesn't look cool. It's just a bunch of pause buffering. So as we continue to iterate on the TAS, right, the number of changes goes down because we're eliminating a lot of easy time save, right? So there will be longer stretches, obviously, where like nothing has changed from last year. But believe me, the time has gone down, so. But how are y'all doing today? Hope you're doing good. Aiden, I've still got some of your stuff in here. Like, I still, to this day, have not been able to beat some of your contributions. And we always know that it's you because of the headband. Is the game loud enough? Chat? Also, I guess now is an opportune time to mention that there will be times where there is no sound. That just kind of happens sometimes. Usually, well, almost always, it's because whatever that clip is, I took it from like an actual stream that I was doing. So I was probably talking, and I didn't want to talk over myself, so sometimes things will be silent for a little bit. But part of the reprocessing this morning was discovering that I had accidentally processed the entire thing with no sound. And I wasn't gonna have you sit here in silence for 3 hours. So we did have there, if you didn't notice it, a double barrel eating. Trico can eat more than one barrel at once. They basically have to, like, collide into each other, you know what I mean? Which is why you, to my knowledge, you can't feed Trico 2 barrels at the same time if you're holding them, because you can't hold 2, right, that are like overlapping. So they need to be on the ground in order to overlap like that. And it's funny because some of these things, like, Morty, why didn't you answer? Morty. He's sleeping on you, Shade, sorry. Yeah, no, I never would have thought the double munch was possible either. And then to have it happen, like, on the GDQ channel was wild. Oh, Mort did answer! You're right, he did. I just missed it, he was slow. Yeah, I try to keep the cuts between segments, like, aesthetically pleasing, but that's only possible to some extent, right? Like the camera's going to be in a slightly different spot, or the lighting might be a little different, or whatever. So the best I can do is just make sure that the cuts happen at the same physical location, and then do my best to make them look nice, you know? To try to make them match. We're gonna probably have red splits fairly frequently. Obviously, you see it's like 0.1 second. It's literally just the difference between how fast I hit the spacebar. So, that's not a time loss. It happens. I wish we could teleport out of this tunnel the same way we can teleport in. So like there was a little cut, which you might not have noticed. That one was better. But there's one, I had to cut it this morning. It's real ugly, and I'm grumpy about it, but what can you do? So this is, I don't know who found this. This might have been Walter who found this checkpoint reset. That's why it's not in the splits. Because it teleports you. Any reset that teleports you in this game is like super valuable. But that's just a regular part of any percent now. That's nothing like TAS specific. Y'all have any fun plans for Christmas? We don't need to just be talking about The Last Guardian the whole time. I ate a ton of blueberries today as well. Wonderful. I used to hate blueberries until I realized that they can taste like flowers if you actually get the good ones. You know what I mean? Osbando loves them. He has them basically every day for lunch. That's why I always have some for Morty. Oh no, Tic Tac! What did you do? Extremely fresh blueberries. Yeah, those are where it's at. Fresh and like gigantic, you know? It has now ruined blueberries for me. So I threw the barrel over there just because it's slightly faster than throwing it straight ahead. But this is TAS only. We're not going to wait for Trico. We're going to just like cheese our way up the hill here. We don't do that in any percent because Trico has to be down in the water in order to trigger the invisible wall that's blocking this cave exit to disappear. And the vast majority of the time, that's why I threw the barrel in the water instead of just ignoring the barrel, because the barrel is what causes Trico to come down. If you do it in any percent, 99% of the time you're not even going to be able to make it up that cliff. And the other 1%, 90% of that is going to be Trico didn't hop down fast enough. So the invisible wall is still there. I never know what to get certain people, so it's going to be gift cards. I know, right? So for the first year, this year, Husbando's whole family is doing, like, you draw names. Because it's to the point where it's like, his brother-in-law, no, he has 2 brothers-in-law, each married, you know, to his 2 sisters. One of them has 3 children. One of them has 1 child and another one on the way. And it's like, oh, this is just so many people, you know? So we drew names for the first time this year. And of course, Husbando and I each pulled the person who is the hardest to purchase for. Everybody else has already like sent their Christmas lists or done whatever, and both of them are like, nah, I don't really want anything. Okay, well then you're not getting anything, you know? Like, we're gonna get them gift cards, don't worry, but why does it have to be so hard? I love this section every time I watch it. It took me so long to get this right. Because you can donk into the wall with these dives. And then, you know, the whole thing is pointless. So, and for this, this is all one segment. There's no cuts here. Which is spooky considering what's about to happen here, where I just jump off of thin air. Ooh, big swimming pool spa thingy. That sounds exciting. Yeah, honestly, most of the time I would rather have experiences than things, you know? Just not a thing in my household? Yeah, that's fair. Christmas is like by far my favorite holiday. Because I don't know if you know other people like this, but I am like by nature a secret keeper. I love secrets. I don't necessarily love surprises, but I love secrets. I don't like when people surprise me, but I guess I like to surprise other people. So I will keep secrets about the smallest things if I think that revealing it to you later will make you happier, you know, than revealing it to you now. Which is, like, the whole premise of Christmas. That's exactly what Christmas is about. It's like, I have a secret for you. You want to find out what it is? You know? So I love Christmas. But I don't care about Christmas for me. Right? Like, oh, thank you, you got me something. I'd love to watch people open gifts, though. Still to this day, have not been able to get this to happen again. I worked on it for so long. Thankfully, I was able to capitalize on it the one time that it did happen. And then, never again. So you interrupt Trico sitting there, which is, that's a thing that you can do. With practice, you can get used to sort of jamming Trico in places he's not supposed to be by interrupting his animations like that. And then we're just up here. You skip the wall climb, you skip most of climbing Trico. So much of this task is just like, how did you do that? Oh. You know? Just like one-off things, which is why I like it so much. It's also sad though when one of those one-off things ends up being beaten by something better. Like, Panda Plummet is an example. There was like a really cool rope run thing that I used to do there. And now it's obsolete, but it still looks like really cool. And I wish it was here, you know? Hey Zeus, how you doing? Nice to see ya. So I know that there is time save in... The way that I break up the tasks is probably very confusing. There are 29 chunks that make up the first segment of the task. The first segment of the task ending at command skip. And I am aware from this morning, having to panic redo some of this, that there is time save in the first segment, so we get to carry that with us for a little bit. That's cool. 100% Mortluck. He's the key. You can do an animation cancel there also to stop Trico from sitting. It's a good thing to do in any percent. We didn't do it here because obviously this is the TAS and we choose the thing that's faster, which is Trico just randomly choosing not to sit there. Land on our feet, of course. Anything else would be slower. I love how you can tell the old footage from the new footage because one of them is significantly higher quality than the other, you know? The pathing there is really specific. We're getting Trico to walk around a little scripted trigger. Which, weirdly enough, like, you want him to go basically as far to the right as possible when he's walking, but if you go as far to the right as you can, he will trigger the script. So it's kind of like a funky pathing sort of thing. Oh, we must be in a section that has no audio. That's normal. That's fine. That will happen sometimes. Don't panic unless it doesn't come back for the next 10 minutes. Because these things were most likely, yep, taken from stream. And now we've got things that I definitely didn't do on stream, and we're back to the audio, so. Like I said, if it's too quiet or anything, let me know. I don't know what Trico just kicked there, but he demolished something. Boy, sometimes I kind of forget there's going to be a split, and just the amount of time it takes me to move my hand to the spacebar is, like, enough to put us in the red. Every time I see your streams or runs at really, really long-a-thon, I'm reminded I need to play this. It's a wonderful game. I mean, just being able to spend time with Trico and having him behave like kind of a naughty dog, you know, is very appealing. Yeah, you can get it, I guess if you have PS Plus, you can just stream it. Or obviously, you know, disc version. Sadly, no PC. Yet. Probably ever. I'm gonna split Monch there. That's not actually a time save. But in past years I have split it too late, so I'm just gonna fix it. That's where we would split it in an any percent, so... I'm still gonna write that down. You can reset that cutscene faster. I'm keeping notes for next year because I always need things to be faster. I have my phone next to me, taking notes. I am so glad I don't have to run this section anymore. And technically I should, because there's kind of like a gross little stumble. I'll show it to you when it happens. I almost kind of wonder... Okay, I'm gonna make another note. I wonder if you can just use the momentum, like, you jump off a Trico's leg and you land on his tail. If you don't grab up toward the top and you let yourself fall and grab like halfway down, yeah, you're doing a free fall and it's really risky, but the momentum of Trico's tail jiggling when you land on it might be enough to just swoop you into that hallway without you having to, like, turn around and jump. So all of this is, like, not any percent viable. This is really hard and really precise. Going backwards like this on Trico's tail. But this part is the part where you die a million times. This. So you can see here, I jump and I hang for a second, which technically is not, like, optimal I should have just dropped and then circle grabbed. And, you know, that at the top of the ladder there. I was trying to glitch through the top of the ladder, which is a thing that you can do. It didn't work, so I got the long animation. So... I'm taking notes, sorry. Armor, please. Typo, geez. We manipulated the fight here to pull all of those armors outside, which means that Trico can then just kill all of them in one swipe. That jump is a nightmare, for real. Hey Aiden, this is yours, yoink! I'm so glad that it's yours, actually, because it looks like you're cheating. It looks like I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna teleport myself up there. But because it's yours, you can prove that it happened. I have never seen something like that. It was ridiculous. Because you were on Trico's foot, basically, and then the force of him jumping just yeeted you up onto the railing, no climbing required. Is what happened. There, so you see, I told you we didn't save time there, but the splits are fixed now, so. Okay, I've taken my notes. Here we go. Just little thing there that most people don't recognize. Trico did not have to turn around. Like, he just kind of ran to come see me, which I've only ever had that happen once, and it was this, so... Yeah, I would assume that that's what happened, right? That... Probably, my guess is that you hit jump to climb Trico faster at the exact moment that he jumped and lifted his leg, and so you just went flying, and then because you skimmed the railing, the boy went into his, like, I'm grabbing the railing animation. So I don't know, but it was very good. That saves multiple seconds. Someday, maybe, Trico will just decide that he doesn't need to do any of this. That would be the dream. But, you know, this is a scripted thing, so he's just gonna do it. Now, this I know is new. This is new to this year. I shared a variation of it in the Last Guardian Discord. So first of all, nice, like, smooth jump down in there. We land on our feet. Which is the whole thing there. You don't land on your butt. You don't have to do the tumbling around thing. You land on your feet. You're basically facing the correct direction. And you just go for it. Which is lucky in and of itself, because not only do you have to land on your feet, which he basically never does during that jump, but also... we don't do food stairs reset in this version. Also, you have to actually have that pot respond, which it's not supposed to because you didn't solve the puzzle, right? It's in the wrong spot. So the physics isn't really turned on such that you're supposed to be able to close the lid. So a lot of times you'll get vine skip and then you try to close the lid and it just won't. And so runners will either have to donk it like 3 times to get it to go, or they'll smash their face against it and the boy will just kind of tumble in between the jug and the platform, and then they have to solve the puzzle as intended anyway. So it was a little thing, just a very small thing, you know, but thank you, Trico. Pretty sure I kept that in because it didn't make any difference. Trico proceeds through this hallway at the same speed. So yeah, just a little thing, but at this point in the TAS, little things that save, you know, a couple seconds really add up. We need those. I'd rather not be to the point just yet where we're focusing on 0.5 second improvements, you know? Now, also, obviously, last year, our time before credits, so just like at the master, was 2:41:11. So let's get some forecasts here about what you think the time is going to be this year. Keeping in mind that the world record is 2:59, held by Walter, who had just a massive god run, followed in second place by me at 3:12, which should tell you just how ridiculous Walter's run was, and why it will probably never be contested. But still, so the world record's 2:59, the TAS is obviously 2:41. Hey Viv, nice to see ya. How you doing? I remember, oh god, I spent weeks getting that to work. Getting Trico to, like, look that way. And it got to the point where I could, like, get him to look that way. Not consistently, but every now and then it would happen. And then I would make that jump, and the boy would hang instead of, like, landing with his feet. And it was... Every time I was like, oh, I'm so close, I don't want to do this for another 2 days. Just to get, you know, another chance. There. That's our real-time save. The vine skip change was almost exactly 4 seconds, so... This is now correct. We are a genuine 4 seconds ahead. 2:39:59. I'll keep that in mind. Couldn't even get close. I know, right? It was so frustrating. Because, like, the whole way that you go up the back of his head matters. And then sometimes, well, most of the time, he's just like, nah, I don't care anyway. So among things that took me a lot of time to record, that was among the top. The other one at the beginning where you skip climbing up the wall right after the pillar falls, that was another one that took me like a ton of time. Like, weirdly, the final glitch at the end of the game at White Tower where everything's like green, that took me less time. Because once you know how to have Trico, like, push you through the wall, it's just a matter of, like, running. So... So these splits, I haven't been forgetting to split. It's just that we're using any percent splits on the TAS, and because of the way the TAS works... This is still you, Aiden! Because of the way the TAS works, we don't necessarily do the same things. So, some of these splits are empty. Exactly, Tic Tac. You do this like 1 for 1, and I think you have a pretty decent chance. Go, Aiden, go! Yeah, the way you went through those armors was just, like, really nice. And this used to be you also. This chunk, I'm pretty sure that this whole little bit is a fairly recent change. I got stuck on a wall, yeah. Well, if I had been able to do better, then yours wouldn't be in here anymore, so you still did better than me. And here you are again, Aiden, because I can't do this to save my life. Genuinely, I don't... This must be how people feel, like, learning regular command skip. because I just don't understand. I do what you do, and Trico just doesn't do it. But it's so much better. Do you have mini segments for this and keep track in an Excel spreadsheet? I am much more roguish than that. I guess technically. Let me... I must have split that. Fine. We're still ahead. I must have split that when he grabbed the lever. I'm actually gonna take this split away. But yeah, no, I'm much more roguish than that. I literally just write things down. Yes, go by vibes. I write things down. Like right now, I have a little list of things that I'm like, I'm watching this, and I'm like, I wonder if I could do this, you know? And then I just try. And then I record a bunch of attempts, and I see if they are better, or if it seems like they could be better. I don't go segment by segment, because sometimes just something as simple as like Trico turning his head in a different direction can just obliterate any pre-existing like division of segments. So I can't keep it that like measured. Ah, that wasn't a very good grab, but I think I have that one written down already. I love that there's still no better way to do that than just plastering your face on the ground. But yeah, for people who want to contribute to the TAS, honestly, the fights are always something worth looking at. There's just so much randomness involved that, like, I can't control. This fight, I doubt that you're gonna beat, because this is quite good. Rico comes in, and he says, "Wha bam!" And that's over. And see, there's our 3.8 back again, so... I mean, like, technically, maybe Trico could make that choice a little faster, you know, but there are so many other things to focus on before we start focusing on things like that. Look at Mort go. Everybody, one by one, is going to be getting their Christmas enclosures over the next, like, weekish. Sam got his already. The thing about... Oh, I remembered making this jump. I did this on the first try. Because I was coming out of that room. And I just thought to myself, like, I wonder if you can just completely skip the first, like, rung of that place where you can hang. I'm gonna try. But I'm also not gonna take the time to spin the camera and look, so I'm just gonna... I'm gonna go by vibes. And it worked. I wouldn't do it in an any %, but it worked. Nice try, chat. It used to be here that dying was faster, which honestly looked really cool, because you would jump down and you would, like, clip right on the edge of the platform, which would give you the checkpoint for touching the platform, but then you would still die. And that was a lot of fun to do. Once per hour? Yes, once per hour. I seem to recall that this is good, but I also seem to recall that it's not all of the armors in one swipe. Most of them, but hypothetically, it would be possible for Trico to kill all of those in one hit, so... You want to work on the TAS with me? Just do that until Trico kills them all. I remember it being really hard to be up on Trico's head. Like, just that little bit of movement that seems like it's basically nothing. It's really hard to be on Trico's head and ready to jump by the time that he's up there. Usually you're still on his back. I spent a long time here, too, trying to just land on the eye. Because I thought that if I could land right on the edge of it, I could just flip it off without having to push it. And sadly, that is not true. It is far too heavy. But it was worth trying, you know? It just goes smashy smashy. Does your PS4 just like not turn on anymore? Oh, and also, do not try this in any percent. This got Trico up these ledges like 0.5 seconds faster. Doing like all of this nonsense. It was not worth it. Oh, thank you for the sub. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing good. These checkpoint resets are brutal. Do you mean like how stringent they are? Oh no! Caught the cord and it hit the floor. That's too bad. I don't remember what happened to our very original PS4 that caused it to stop working, but that was a sad day. I like that original thicky boy. Hi PDO, how you doing? Well, hopefully it is fixable. I know the temptation to smashy smashy is there, but... So just little thing there with Trico, it's not just how quickly he parses your command, it's the animations he chooses to do also. So that was a 3-part turn, which is essentially the best that Trico can do in a situation like that. Walter taught me this. This vine skip. Again, would not recommend in any percent, but... Oh, Tic Tac! Thank you for the Prime sub. Appreciate you. I was gonna say how you doing, but you've been here for a bit. How you doing? We get to walk forward off that platform because of the speed at which we grab that from the chain. So that's a little bit of something, you know? She's none the wiser. Deception level 100. I wish that there were some way to do this differently. I can't think of any way that we would do this differently, because like that thing has to come off the door. I'm basically 100% sure that even if I threw that thing against the door a million times, it's not going to clip through, you know? And even if it did, I would need to clip through also. Because I need to get through the door in order to trigger the checkpoint. The checkpoint only happens when I touch this floor, not when the jug does. So I wish there was some way to like remove the bar without having to drop the jug, which technically, if I'm thinking about it, there's a hypothetical possibility that I could stand right against the door, drop the jug, and it would get trapped between me and the door, but more likely it would just shove me out of the way. Yeah, I don't really see a way that we could make that faster. And you know, for all the more that it's like, oh yeah, you know, all of this game knowledge from having played this game so much makes it easier to find... Oh, that was such a good roll over there. makes it easier to like think about what you could save time with. Sometimes it just takes people who have no idea what they're doing with the game, playing it in a way that you just like never thought of. You know what I mean? Sometimes you need that. Oh, Trico, my dude. I don't know how that happened, but like that's why I love watching this back, because I didn't touch this segment this year, so I didn't really remember what happened. But completely interrupting Trico from charging the gate and actually getting him to go back to this pot in just like a one cycle pull is really, really nice. There's Shavil. I split Hodor. I'll have long neck Trico in the TAS. That would be amazing. No, so here's what you do. You are in the puddle where Trico sees the other Trico for the first time. You know, and you have to look up before you do the pillar climb skip. Right after vine skip. And you get long neck Trico, and he just long necks you all the way up to drawbridge. Because that's directly above you at that point. Like 100% vertical. He just gets you up onto the scaffolding of drawbridge and you just skip an entire hour of gameplay. We destroy that eye during the little scene there. That's possible in any percent as well. You can do it. Most runners with some practice can do it, so. This is kind of a crapshoot. This can also happen in any percent where, you know, Trico just lets you leave, but you have no control over it. Trico has two possible animations when he examines those glass eyes. One of them brings you close to the railing, one of them doesn't, so. And once he's chosen one, he won't choose the other. Like, you can't call him and make him do the other, so. It's also good for him to be lining up there. Like, we get the camera change before the platform is even finished breaking, which is kind of huge. I remember doing this a ton as well, to find like the exact moment that is the earliest that Trico can catch you. I died here so many times. Plus I also spent a lot of time just like that, trying to grab Trico's tail, so that I didn't have to worry about him like turning around. But unfortunately, there is like an invisible barrier. See, like Trico barely caught me. That's way further down than he was supposed to be. Yeah, you can't grab Trico's tail. You're pushed away from it, plus the boy doesn't even reach out his hand, which means that it doesn't have, like, grab physics at all. It's not grabbable during that time, so. That checkpoint reset is really only worth it if you do it exactly like that. Otherwise it takes essentially equal time as just like walking there. You never usually run that down like that. Trico just happened to be in a very good position. Because a lot of the time if you run it down all the way instead of just letting it roll, Trico will continue to follow you, and then he's past the point where he's standing right now, where he's supposed to grab you. So you have to wait for him to like turn around and then get set up. Which is why you don't want to walk forward like that. But as you saw, it kind of so happened that Trico, who knows what he was doing, scratching his face or whatever, and just ended up being a little bit further behind. Which meant that then it was advantageous to push the eye, because pushing it makes it go down faster. I was so grumpy that I grabbed his head there, I remember, because it was like so nice otherwise. It didn't really cost that much time, but... And that's something you can do in any percent. Also, you know, you can be all the way over here and then kick the camera right towards you before that scene is over. Did I not fix the donk in the hallway? Really? I could have sworn that I did. This is harder to do than it looks. It took me a long time. You have to get that guy to do the animation of attempting to grab you, or else he is close enough to just yoink you right off that wall. But this means that we didn't have to reset. We just ran like straight into the room. We didn't reset on the ledge. Which also means that we can just get that out of the way before Trico even sees it. Which is the purpose of running during the cutscene when Trico jumps up from his fall. Because if you leave him while he's still, like, before he's done with his little scripted thing that he's supposed to be doing there, he's caught in that animation, right? And he can't follow you as closely, which that, combined with tricking that armor into trying to grab you, gets you to destroy that eye fast enough that Trico never sees it, which means that as soon as he sees the armors, he just kind of bashes into that room and finishes the fight. You don't have to run up these stairs. It's just kind of haha funny, whatever. Trico's already coming out and doing his thing, so... I wish that we could get him to not do this. Dream TAS change. And I have tried for literal years to try to get this to happen. Sometimes Trico will run out of where he just came from. And I have tried to get him to run out of there with me on his head, and then when he skids to a stop, give me like a super boost that just gets me over across the gap and to the eye. And I've never gotten it to work, or really even close. But I want to believe that it's possible. Because obviously that saves us from having to climb all of these things. It saves us from having to get boosted up on Trico. In theory, it's possible. Exactly. In theory, that should work. The physics in the game can support that concept. Barring, you know, there being an invisible wall between you and the eye. But I don't see why there would be, because as close as I've ever gotten, I have gone in an arc. I have not hit anything, so... So it should be a thing. Just... God knows if you can ever get it to happen. I actually think that... I don't remember if that is Sancho's, or if I ended up taking one from Walter. But that was not me that got up the eye like that. I knew it was possible, but I couldn't get it to be as nice as that. Because I want to say that Sancho was actually the one who discovered that you could do that. He did it on accident once. And then I'm pretty sure that Walter has now just taken it to be a given. You know? But... I wonder if we can get Trico to jump faster there. I bet we could if we just keep re-rolling it. until the debris... blind jump right on the head. Until the debris doesn't land on the platform. Because that's what he was looking at. I'm gonna write that down. Oh, maybe I modified this area as well. I remember working on it. I don't remember if I ever got anything that was better. I think I did. But we shall see. I remember being really proud of doing this. Moving, like, you can move during this cutscene. It's not recommended in any percent because the boy can fall off really easily. Because it's not technically a cutscene. It's a cinematic scripted event, right? But then, you know, to be moving throughout it, to be in the right place, and then to jump before you're really supposed to. And it all just worked. It was very exciting, you know? That's to skip a cutscene. People often wonder why we just yeet ourselves off the edge there. A lot of the time in any percent you'll shimmy instead of doing that jump because it's really easy to miss, but either way, you know. That was technically a camera pan skip. It didn't look like it because the camera still moved a little, but usually you get glued in place there for about 2 seconds. And we were allowed to move, so... It is a skip, it just doesn't look like anything. Running along the side of the stairs, not on the stairs themselves, because that's very slightly faster. Alright, I believe that this should be new, right there. Side of the stairs, once again. I don't remember entirely what I did differently. Like, I ran the stairs better. I'm pretty sure I also dodged this armor better. Because I think in the previous version I donked him. So it's just it's a tiny thing, you know. Yeah, we dodged through. And then stay on the side of the stairs, which is the whole thing. And landing like that actually requires a super jump, which you don't super have control over, so... This was harder than it looked to actually make all of those jumps. So really just a tight section. Yeah, smooth. I remember reworking that a bunch because obviously there's a lot of potential there, so... But you can see, like, the small change with the armor not donking him made such little difference that it was eaten up by how fast my finger moved to the spacebar, you know? So it's just, it was a teeny tiny little donk. Gives us a little bit of flexibility, but I don't necessarily even count that as a change. This makes barrel skip look so easy, because you just like walk out. I remember that taking me forever when I was learning this run. It's like, oh god, am I going to get barrel skip? And there were some times where... Oh, I didn't split. I wasn't paying attention. Where it's just like, no, I'm not gonna get barrel split or barrel skip. I have to do this the intended way. And I can't even imagine what that's like anymore. Which brings fond memories of what it used to be like, you know? And the good news is, for people who are considering running this game, it's not as hard as it seems. That is such a risk, to leave that barrel there with him and not watch him eat it. So it is faster to do what Walter does and come up behind it and hit circle that cart so that you can just not do that hanging grab. However, I did that hanging grab on purpose because the force of the boy jerking to the side with his one-handed grab shoves the cart just a little bit further forward, which is what allowed me to make that jump onto the platform with my feet instead of having to grab it with both hands, which does end up being faster. So it wasn't just that I kept the slowest version of a grab in here because I was too lazy to fix it. If a runner can get Trico to just understand what this jump is on the first try, that's already like a huge time save. He hates this room. Just talk to Drakes, it's easy. It's been so long since I've had this cutscene skip that, aside from the TAS, I've just forgotten that it exists. I mean, this is my footage, and it's the old washed out footage, so you can tell that it's been a long time. Because this is what my stream used to look like, just very gray. And Trico just will not do this for me anymore. Yeah, we celebrate every time Trico just does a thing. So see, he has locked in. He understands that command and he's going. And because he is leaving this platform before the scripted thing triggers, voila, it doesn't trigger. Be nice if we could look into the cutscene conditions, right? Because for that one, I'm sure that the condition is just, you know, if Trico is standing here, play the cutscene. And so if you get him to leave before it makes that determination, it doesn't play it. Because otherwise, as soon as there's a specific place after his footsteps there, you have, I don't remember, X amount of time before the camera pans. So if you can get him out of there in that amount of time, then it won't start. But there's another one later. Like another... It's not quite the same, I guess. Because it's the game kind of briefly forgetting it's in a little scene, and so it gives you a flash of the boy, and then it tries to continue with what it's doing. I messed with that this time, like this year. By just... Literally, I just paused like a madman to try to mess with it. And it did eventually give me control of the camera, so... Which is kind of how it works in the fight with the other Trico as well. If you just like overstimulate the game, eventually it surrenders the camera to you. And we do that during any percent. That's pretty common. That rope climb is so fast. It's like perfect cycling. The boy is just like going ballistic up that rope. You know, during Platinum percent, I think I messed this up both times. Kind of ashamed of myself. This rope tech is like the fast climbing in Shadow. I can see the similarities. That makes sense. Now I no longer remember what we actually choose to do here. I think we just do Panda Plummet. We do Panda Plummet, but we give the command first. That's funny. Oops, I wasn't splitting. Yes, it's just resetting the stick. It's just tap, let go, and you get, well, it's not quite tap. It's like tap with enthusiasm. And you know what I mean? It's just a little bit longer than a tap, but not quite a push. And once you get kind of the rhythm, it's pretty easy. The rope one might be my most hated part. I suck at it. Sometimes, you know, sometimes it just goes, and sometimes, like I said, I think in both of my platinum playthroughs for really, really longathon, I fell like halfway across, which is just not like me. I flick the stick up repeatedly. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I don't really know how to describe it other than it's longer than a flick but shorter than a full push, you know? Aiden used to jump up ropes? Yeah. There are... I guess that used to be the thing, right? Yeah, because Satsu did that too. Jumping was faster than climbing. Basically anything that this boy does in this game, there is a faster version that is much more complicated. We can't just have it be simple. You know? Can't just be like, hey, child, just climb Trico in a straight line. And that's letting go like super fast. I know it seems like Trico was kind of like gearing up to get you, but there's a difference in his animation when he's actually ready to get you, and that drop was just right on the cusp of when he was capable of grabbing. I did a lot of falling past his mouth here. And this one was just a bunch of recording. Like, I just recorded like 50 or 60 iterations of this and then found the one that was fastest, because I have absolutely no control over what Trico's doing here, you know? I'm not giving him any commands, he's literally just like doing this. So you just kind of gotta vibe with Trico. Let him tell you how fast he's gonna go. You're right, Aiden. I forgot. I might have that written down from last year's change that I just didn't implement this year. But I'm gonna write it down again. Faster reset on tail at... I drop past rope. Yeah, I think we can implement that next year pretty easy. I don't remember anymore, but probably the reason I didn't do that was because I had this really nice... Like, I actually got Trico to catch me, like, right at the beginning of his window, and so I was like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna mess this up by by resetting a fraction of an inch too soon. But we can just segment there if we need to. Seeing these towers also just kind of reminds me, and in the background, we obviously have like the White Tower and the whole like area that you run through there later. Which reminds me that when we get to the point where Trico has broken the bridge to the White Tower and he flies across and then you like fall off with a gargoyle onto his head, I really do want to keep reworking that, I think. Well, when we get there I'll explain how, but like, I know that there's stuff that can be done there that isn't in the TAS because I've done it. It just wasn't 100% successful. It's one of those things where, like, it requires you to do two things back to back, and I've done each of them individually, but never together. You know what I mean? Now, if only we could get Trico... I spent quite a lot of time this year, actually. I revisited this section trying to find a way to either, you know, cheat my way out of the tree or to just get Trico to ignore his first cycle, the one where he jumps up next to you and then can't get you. Like, I was trying to basically just get him to skip ahead to where he jumps straight up above you, and I couldn't figure anything out, but... I would believe that this section is a little bit impenetrable in that sense because things like that are like locked into sections, I feel like you would have to actually like straight up break the game in order to have it do anything different. And I can't think of how I might do that. But if we could save Trico doing this first cycle of jumping next to you, that would be like massive. It's a huge amount of time. It would save basically from right here until, and I will point it out when we get there. Because he takes forever. And this is as fast as he goes. I mean, this is in the task, so this is as fast as he goes. If we could do the skip that I wanted, we would have skipped to right here. That was, according to my splits, exactly 35 seconds. That would be huge. But I have no concept of how I could possibly get him to do that. Trico, move your tail. It always feels like it takes forever. Because the boy's shirt is like enmeshed with that branch. Hey, true vine skip. So typically in this game, when things end up like that, the only way to get them out is to apply actual physics force to them. That's why, for example, when Trico's tail is down on the floor, down below where we are hanging from the vine, you'll see that sometimes it gets stuck. It also gets enmeshed like that. And the only thing that ever frees it is Trico moving so far that, you know, it stretches too far. And it has to pop out. And I have no mechanism of doing that to myself when I'm in the tree. You can actually do this perfect throw in any percent. I did it during really, really long-a-thon. It's not actually as difficult as it seems, or as lucky as it seems. Because that way you don't have to get off of Trico in order to give him the barrel. Nothing much I can do to make him go faster here. Wouldn't it be cool also if you could like trick the game into thinking that this is where you are when you're actually here a lot earlier? Because this is the same room as Hodor. This is the same room with the jug on the chain. If you could like trick the game into thinking that when Trico jumps up onto that pillar the first time, he's jumping up onto it here, then you skip like an hour of the game, you know? Because the fact that the ceiling isn't broken wouldn't actually matter. As we see... Sorry, I'm gonna take medicine while I'm talking. As we see with Drawbridge, the game's conditions don't need to be met in order for it to proceed. So Drawbridge isn't down, nor is all of the piping above Drawbridge down when Trico jumps across. So the game will permit you to do that even though the prior conditions haven't been met. So there's technically no reason why you wouldn't be able to go up through that ceiling before it's been broken. Oof, that's such a far jump. Yeah, the only question would obviously be, like, how do you make the game reconsider where you are? And usually, for questions like that, the answer is you touch something. That's what happens at White Tower at the end. Where we do that, like, massive glitch. Just the fact that I passed through what is the floor inside the elevator is enough for the game to be like, oh, okay, you're past all of this other stuff. Now let's change the game environment to be where you are, you know? So it does work that way. So hypothetically in the previous room, if we could touch something much higher up on the ceiling, we might be able to trick the game, but I don't know how we would do that. This fight, I very distinctly remember. This can be improved, without question, because the fight is over here. I just didn't realize that it was over, which means that that reset happens way too late. So again, if anybody wants to help, that fight 100% demonstrably can be improved. Because I remember looking back at that footage and being like, oh, I could have saved like 3 seconds or something if I would have just reset. Yeah, the armor fights are honestly like the least grueling to fix because you actually get to do things, you know? It's not just run into a wall, jump, oh, I missed it. Run into a wall, jump, oh, I missed it. For 5 hours, you know? Oh, I remember the changes that I made to this last year. Boy, I already kind of don't remember how they worked. That's usually how it works when I'm doing these recordings. I'm like hyper focused on one specific goal. And then I put the pieces together, and for that day or whatever where I finally accomplish it, Mort has decided that he's not answering. For that day or whatever where I actually accomplish it, I'm like keyed in. Oh, this can be improved too. This is the old way of doing this. And then like within the next 24 hours after I accomplish whatever I'm trying to accomplish, I'm like, I have no idea what happened. That's the way I feel this year about the changes that are coming toward the end of the game. It made sense at the time, and then I threw the video together. Like, I put all of the pieces together, And now I'm like, I don't know why this works. So the same is true of what's coming up here. But I'm gonna mark to change this because the only reason it still looks like this is because I never learned the updated method of doing this jug, which Aiden, I'm pretty sure you do it the right way. Walter does it the right way. Samurai might also do it that way. So I could literally just take footage from your run, Aiden, I'm sure. And it would be a little bit faster. Mort, that makes no sense. Morty. Okay. Alright, so we got that physics boost up into the ceiling. I remember that. Aiden, I'm pretty sure you were there for the first time I boosted like that. And then I just forced my way through the roof. Which is a fun time. JK. I don't know why the barrel does that sometimes. Because that first barrel footage was... Let's see, I'm so enthusiastic I didn't split. That original barrel footage was live. No, it's not a consistent strat. It has happened more than once, but it just kind of does it when it wants to, you know? It's one of those kind of things. So that came... It's still in my channel somewhere as a clip. So yeah, like that happened while live. Which meant that I knew that it was possible. But before that, like, never in a million years would I have ever assumed that, oh yeah, sure, this box can just leap into the ceiling. Why would you think that, you know? Nacho step there. So no, that one was very fun. 'Cause yeah, you end up in the ceiling, you basically jam yourself around a bunch, and then if you look at the floor, like, just at any point during doing dangly bits, for an any percent, you can look at the floor and see that there's a bunch of holes in it. So basically you're just jamming yourself, like you're skating underneath the roof by jamming yourself into it until you find a place you can pop out. Which, if memory serves, is next to like a cluster of broken metal, I think, like a pile of rebar, kind of. Don't hold me to that, but that is in my memory. So those kind of things are what makes the task fun, right? I love those kind of things. And I've kind of got stuff like that going on later as the new edition this year. Like the main new edition this year. So look forward to that. New Ada's signature bloom. You mean the blinding light of Jesus? Naturally, nothing we can really do faster here except for what I'm already doing, which is staying on the inside of the curve. Just because, you know, a little bit shorter. Oh, it's windy outside. Yoink. I love it when he does that. Like, he has the command in his brain, but he also, like, mid-command also grabs me. I mean, surely we can get him to turn faster there. You know what I've just considered? I don't see necessarily that it would be possible, just from what I can see right now. I've never tried actually just leaving. Like, I wonder if you can physics abuse yourself down onto these platforms yourself, which would cause Trico to follow you quickly. I would also obviously love to see a zero armor Coliseum. I'm not sure that that's possible. It could just be that the one is like default, you know? And Trico's whole model freaked out about that spear. Wouldn't be in the TAS if he didn't kill that thing in one hit. And he does calm down pretty quick, so. But yeah, just imagine, like, zero armor. He just comes in and goes immediately to the cog. Obviously, that would be super ideal. But yeah, I think I'll make a note about going down those cliffs. Because yeah, if you leave Trico behind somewhere, he typically, if it's jumps, he will follow you a lot faster. If it's walking, not necessarily, but I suspect that maybe we could get Trico to come up a little faster here. Sometimes he's just kind of really on it. But obviously this one is a good one, or else it would not be in here. He should be up, like, very shortly. Yep. Yeah, I mean, that is actually pretty fast. Luigi, have you seen the Lizard Wizard mug? Or not Lizard Wizard, just the Mort mug in Discord? I have it posted in announcements. The one that you may stand to win. Yeah, Dragon Sage was the winner last year. Which, I suppose... We'll see if this command still works. There you go. For legal reasons, I have to provide the rules so that it's technically not gambling. Or else I can get in trouble. Strap me in irons. They're coming, Ouija. The FBI, they're gonna be at your door any minute. They know. It is so windy outside. So I actually feel pretty good about these water puzzles. I'm not sure there's much to be improved here, because we kind of cheat Trico's animation. Or rather, we cheat his AI. Like, this one's pretty normal. That little dip there is possibly the only thing that could really stand to improvement. And I'm not sure that you can do that. Because the boy, it always seems like you're coming right into the door, but then right when you pass through the threshold, it pushes the boy down. And it's because he has like a little bubble of hit detection around him. But like, I'm not sure that going low enough that that doesn't happen is helpful. Because then you have to keep diving straight down and then go sideways and then go straight up, which you can't do. You can't go straight up. You have to go like angled up. So all you're really doing is spending more time going down. So is that worth it? Worth testing, but you know. Being played backwards or something? What? I'll have to listen. So this is really specific. This is really finicky because the boy has basically exactly enough air to do this as presented. So see, we had to kind of like angle up like that. And the reason that doing it that way is important, Trico, are you pooping? Is because, yeah, you can go up vertical, like completely vertical immediately and faster if the boy is like drowning, but then he has this really long animation of like sputtering and all that when he comes up to the top. So when I say that you have exactly enough air, I mean that the moment your head comes atop the water is the moment that he would have started to drown. So see, we're gonna trick Trico. Trick his AI. We are under the water. I don't know if you even saw there that like my hand was just disembodied from my body. So now that we're under the water, Trico's like, oh, he thinks that we're in this tunnel, right? Because we're down below him in the water, but we're on him. And so he's like, okay, I need to go. I need to make this condition true. So he's gonna go in the tunnel. We don't have to give him the command, essentially. We don't have to swim up to him, get on his back, give him the command, and then wait. We just grab him, and he goes. No good nap for Morty, I guess. Alright, let's actually catch up on these splits. So now we're at snuggle percent. This is where we start that. Now there were big changes here last year. And those I worked on for long enough that I do basically still remember how they work. Basically. Because with this one, it was so complicated that I ended up having to like make like 7 or 8 folders of like, okay, here's part 1 of it, here's part 2 of it. Because you have to touch certain things to make invisible walls go away, but then if you don't touch this other thing, then it's like slower, but then if you do, then the other Trico does something different, and then that doesn't work, and you only have 1 chance to do this because there's a rock that needs to not move. And that's true. I love doing that railing run. It's just so swaggy. I think it might actually be faster to dive through there than to jump. I would have to test it. It would come down to a couple tenths of a second, but we're not quite there yet to where that's what the TAS has to be, you know? So yeah, when we get here, I will do my best to explain what's happening. I explained it in much more detail last year. since I still remembered what was going on. But I think maybe it was Brian that first introduced me to the concept that this was possible. That going up a different way was possible, I mean. Which kind of unlocked a whole new can of worms. So you go up this way, which is not the way you're supposed to be going, and then, you know, you kind of cheese yourself up the cliff here. And then over. Which now means that you have not stepped over the thing that would cause this branch to break. Which is why we can now climb across it like that. You have to come around that side of the tree, though. I remember that, or else something doesn't work. So we have to go over here. You have to kind of throw your arm through that grate, because then the game is like, okay, you've been in that room now, which now unlocks the invisible wall that's in these windows. So you grab the window, you land in the window. You're on this rock, which you absolutely under no circumstance can kick out of the window, or else you're not tall enough to make this jump. And then you're past the fight with the other Trico. And now she exists because you've made it into this room. But I remember... I remember, like, when I first found the invisible wall in the windows, it was because I was riding the other Trico. I was trying to, like, ride her head and have her launch me into the windows. Because obviously there was no chance of getting any kind of, like, ledge jump while she's running around messing with you. So I just assumed that it would be that I would be on her head and she would yeet me into the window. And then that happened a couple times, and there was always an invisible wall. So for probably 2 years, I was like, okay, this isn't possible. We'll just do this fight like normal. And then Brian, or whoever it was, showed me that you can get up here that other way without triggering the tree to break. And so I came back up here again, and then because I didn't have this Trico to help me get in the window, it, you know, created a situation where I had to figure out a different way. But I also remember, like, the probably 96% of my recording time for this area was trying to make that jump, and then in the process, the rock, like, I would kick the rock just like a little too far, and then I wouldn't be able to stand on it anymore. And then you have to, like, completely start over. You have to just reset and do so much of it again. Because that rock isn't just part of the window. Like, it's just sitting in the window. So, a lot of the time, when you made the ledge jump up into the window, just the boy, like, climbing up and taking a step into the windowsill was enough for him to just punt it off of the ledge. So I have very vivid memories of doing this. Big yawn, Morty. Not Big John, Morty, thank you. No. He refuses to say. I asked Morty if he knew Big John, and he says, I'm not gonna say anything. So for most speedrunners, right, if you're doing an any percent and you're, you know, making pretty good time through your any percent, you're gonna come to Cage at about 2 hours. Hour 55 to 2 hours. Well, more like hour 55 to 205. It kind of depends on where exactly you are in your journey as an any percent runner, you know. But 2 hours is a decent benchmark. And obviously we are at 134. So sadly, we will not be able to cash in on that time save from skipping the other Trico like that because we cashed in on it last year. But fear not. I know we haven't really saved much time so far, but there's stuff coming. I wanted to do stuff like earlier in the run because I know it's more exciting when stuff happens not in the final a little bit, you know? But you take what you can get at this point. You know how fast Walter was at the split? It was ridiculous. I remember that because I remember verifying the run and, you know, just kind of going through and checking benchmarks like that, and I remember getting to here, and I don't remember what the time was, but I remember thinking like, Jesus Christ, you know, like, that was fast. Same with the entry to the White Tower. That's another one that you kind of benchmark. What time do people have when they touch the White Tower before they get into those final fights? And his was so far ahead of 3 hours. He was at like 240 or something at that point. It was ridiculous. Now this was cool. This was another one that happened on stream where the cage just kind of, you know, popped. Physics, right? Don't know why, but that one came from a stream clip as well. Yeah, I think that 205 sounds like about a 330-ish, yeah. I mean, it kind of depends on how Cage treats you right after, right? I almost got a hole-in-one during a really, really long fun, and I was sad that I didn't. I don't know why there was a random black screen there. I think my file just kind of lost its mind for a second. So, we lost a second or two, that's why. I'll make a note just to see if it was my file, or if it was just like my video source. What's this? Age puzzle launch black screen, we're gonna call it. Why does it seem like we're going to save so much time here? Okay, that has to be that I split wrong last year, because there's no way that we saved that much time. I did not amend this year to my recollection, so... It's always hard to remember what I change, except for, like, massive things like we're still coming up on. Because, you know, I test, like, dozens of things every year, and then maybe, like, 3 or 4 make it into the TAS. So I can spend 20 hours looking at a particular puzzle and then not do anything with it. If you give Trigo that command before he stands up, he gets really confused. If you were wondering why I was just standing there. Morty. Morty, you don't make any sense. Morty doesn't know what he's talking about today. The speedrun is going by far too fast for him to be able to keep track of what's happening. Chaining commands here, when it works, is phenomenal. Because you can, like, preload a command before he's completed the previous one. But 99% of the time, he's just gonna be like, oh, go backwards? I understand that. I should do like a blooper reel after this of all the things that didn't work, and Aiden, I should put your being shoved into a mountain here as part of it. That lives rent-free in my head. And like Yuzu being pushed down through the floor and having like a dance party. I have a folder called Honorable Mentions. And the file names are things like Jesus Christ. Because it was just, whatever it was nonsense, you know? Do you still have that somewhere? Like a clip of that? Or does it just get to live in our memories? Yeah, where she got shoved down through the platform right at the end. Like in Two Towers section. And she's like weeping. I also don't know where a clip of that might be these days. Now, obviously, we love- see, I told you we didn't save this much time. We love Trico. And we would love to watch him do this very adorable cutscene, but if we could skip this, that would be great. I would love to be able to skip this little 4-minute thing or whatever. But again, I see no real way that we could, because the checkpoint is... I mean, it's at the cage, but there's no way back out of the cage. Although now that I'm thinking about it... No, there's like literally no time. So, thanks, Tic Tac. The thought process is... As you are about to see, the checkpoint is at the top, like the platform overlooking this cage. Right here. So, once we get launched, we do this whole scene, right? Where Trico carries us around and everything. And then we regain control of the boy, and we come over, and then we reset in exactly the same spot. So... there's not enough time here. Like, Trico comes down, and then we have this amount of time. And then he spins, and then we get the scene. There's no way for us to get back out of this cage. There's not things to grab, or like to hold on to, presumably to keep you from getting away from the armors, so that Trico has to come down and save you, and this section like progresses like they intend. If we could get up on Trico's head and get out of this arena in between the time when he jumps down and when we have been launched, just there, what would happen? I'm inclined to believe we would not trigger the next cutscene, because that would be a big ask, right? This actual true cutscene hasn't played at that point, so that's kind of a big ask for it to just skip right ahead to the next checkpoint, but I do just kind of wonder what would happen. I'm gonna put it on my list. And then I'm gonna get up and stretch during this. This is our preordained stretch scene. So I will be right back. Since we can't skip this, enjoy Trico being Trico. Yeah, for sure. Like, if we could skip this... And, like, we all love Trico, you know? We love Trico, and we don't want to pretend that he's not our adorable, gigantic friend, but... This is, like, minutes, you know? But it does give us a place to take a break, you know? I'm assuming that's what you mean, JK? Like it's an opportunity to actually chill for a second? Also, if you can believe it, less than an hour until we are done. Yeah, break in the middle of the run. So he comes around that corner pretty quick, and he does not hesitate over that little pillar. Like, he doesn't step on it and then step off of it and continue, he just steps over it. I'm sure there's some iteration of this that could still be, you know, a half a second faster or whatever, but... So if anybody wants to compare their runs against this one, see if you've got a faster Trico. By all means. Because everybody who's ever posted a full game run should have this in it. Or even anybody who's just posted Snuggle, I guess. Yeah. Everybody just lost their minds. I like that concept out of context. where it's like people who know nothing about The Last Guardian are just watching two seemingly identical screens and everybody's quiet, and then suddenly everybody just loses their mind. No context, just everybody is just a goner. And the people watching are like, what is happening? Yeah, all these little time variations are just me, you know, the differences in when I split per year. We're still about 4 seconds ahead, so. But I promise we will be getting to more significant stuff soon. It all kind of ended up backloaded this year. I say all as if it isn't just a bunch of minor, well, not minor, but a bunch of changes all within the same section. I really locked in, but only to one 5-minute chunk. Because everything else ended up not being faster. Like, I really worked on... What did I work on? I don't remember. There was something that I did like a ton of, and then finally... Oh, it was the... I wasn't paying attention because I was staring off into the middle distance. It was... Oh, now I've forgotten again. Oh, wait. Yeah, it was right after demo area in the pendulum room. I spent like a solid week trying to do that thing where, you know, you get ahead of Trico fast enough that you get rid of the eye and he doesn't get angry at all and just kind of blisses in there and destroys the armors. And I like really got it down pat, and I was like, okay, this is good. I'm really happy with this time. And then for some reason, I don't know why, I didn't think to like actually look at the TAS, but all of that work, I still had not beaten the TAS. So I spent a large chunk of my time doing that, which was absolutely pointless. We need to do another relay? I would love to do another relay. Or, I mean, you all should relay Shadow. You should just PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5. Yes, Tic Tac. That, I think, is probably the play, you know? I mean, we could just go for it again next year at Really Really Longathon or something. Because I always need Treaksmas content. Yeah, so you don't have to go out that far. Like, people run out really far onto that balcony and you do not have to. Same with that. As soon as you pass into that lighter looking area, that's all the further you need to go for Trico. I'm stopping that guy from walking out onto the balcony. That is the purpose there. Conveniently, he gave me the opportunity to destroy his head, which... I mean, that's the reason this is in the TAS, is because he actually let me do that. But you can either keep guys in the hallway like that, or the thing that I more commonly do in any percent is I will follow the guy who goes all the way out here to get that spear, and then I'll just keep him out here so that even if Trico just taps him, he'll die. Because otherwise, Trico can't kill these things in 3 hits, you know? This white tower skip, I'm pretty sure was like the very first year that I had the TAS. Because it was like so obvious that if something should be improved, it's White Tower Skip. And I worked on this for a long time. Aiden, I actually think this is you. I think I just cut to you. Oh, maybe this is it. Yeah, I don't think that I did that. Because you had this really good run down the bridge. Yep, that's you. Always got the headband. Really, really nice job. And then obviously we're off to this. I don't technically know. In an any percent, I would split White Tower Skip there. So we're gonna do that. I know it looks like we're losing time. I would like to kind of sort out my splits a little bit. You know? I would like to get things kind of on track. So we are still 4 seconds ahead. Don't worry about what the splits say. We never lose time, we only gain it. Yep. Yes, if I have done my job correctly, we will never lose time in a TAS. I've just had a thought. Has anybody ever tried dodge rolling here? I'm writing it down. Mostly, I don't necessarily think it would make a difference, but mostly... Okay, that one truly wasn't correct. Mostly, I'm curious if you could get a little bit further ahead and then Trico wouldn't be able to catch you successfully and we could have another one of those really funny Trico whiffs things like I have a clip of somewhere. I don't remember where that is anymore. But it was like Trico... I think, yeah, it was that Trico didn't make the jump across, but the boy was still acting like he did, so the boy was just like floating around in the air without Trico there, and then he Beybladed off into the distance. It was hilarious. So this is the section I was talking about earlier that I know can be better because I've done it better. So like here, for example, I know that instead of landing on that gargoyle like I did, you can jump from Trico's head to the gargoyle, to the gargoyle, to the floor. And that's faster. I've done it before. But I wasn't recording. That specific incident is why now, anytime I turn Last Guardian on, I'm recording. Because I have not been able to do that since. But that, like, head to gargoyle to stairs is way faster than scrabbling up onto a gargoyle and then stumbling down onto the stairs, you know? So I know that that can be better. Alright, so shortly we're gonna actually get into the things that I changed. We had that one thing, we had Vine Skip, like right at the beginning, and then we've just been holding steady on our 4 seconds. Technically, we're at like 5 seconds because I did very slightly improve the armor hallway. You know? Alright, we should be pretty much back on track. The splits are a little low still, but this is much closer. But yeah, I improved the armor hallway right before drawbridge also, so that should be factored in. It's just kind of getting lost among the 0.5s that it takes me to move the splits. I guess I've never tried it, but I don't imagine that Trico, because of the way he sets up here, I don't imagine that he would do this flight anywhere other than walking to this specific spot. But technically, I mean, I could run to the other side of him and see if he would do it without turning around. I doubt it, but doesn't mean we shouldn't try, right? And this one was nice. Again, it's kind of like a small thing that you probably wouldn't notice if you weren't very specifically paying attention, but Trico, we cut right through him howling at the White Tower. He'll usually stop there and like turn and look around behind him and scream. But if you get him to fly like that, he's less likely to do it, and then also it's just kind of a little bit of luck. Luck and keeping his attention. He did that fight really fast, if I recall, so I'm not sure that there's much improvement to be had here. That eye doesn't need to go nearly as far as you think it does. Alright, let's start making some progress, chat. I spent forever in this section of the game. And this first change that's coming up, heartily do not recommend in any percent. It took me a long time just to be able to do the first chunk of it, let alone the second, so... Like, is it viable? Technically, I guess, in the same way that doing the first cage backwards is viable, in quotes, you know. But I wouldn't. Especially this late into a run. For what amounts to... a little bit of time. So we run down here. This is normal, still. Here's the first difference. So you see I regain control of the camera by brute force, and I'm gonna do that again later. But now we stand up here and make this jump, meet her tail as it comes down, and then, yeah, it's kind of a pain to let go of it, but you really kind of can't let go of it faster than that. Like, as far as I could see, you can't land on your feet there. So, like, I tried quite a lot, and I saw no way that you can land on your feet. Or you could land on your feet. The other thing that's important to note is that we skipped the cutscene where the armor comes out, because we just did all that fast enough. It's the same as cutscene skip at, right after Dark Room. You know, you just go so fast that you go past where it even wants to do that. So this is still normal. The tail thing, like, wasn't that much faster. I know the splits are messed up, but The tail thing wasn't like that much faster than what we were doing before, which was meeting her ankle in the middle of the air and kind of riding it down. So now here's the rest. This has always been in the TAS. I think I did this in like the first or second year. We always do this section at nighttime in the TAS. Here's the difference. Like I was trying to gain control of the camera up above by just like wrestling, like physically wrestling the game with the controller. I'm doing that here, and eventually you can see the camera is just kind of moving in random direction because I'm literally just like jamming the pause button and moving the camera as much as possible, just like I was just doing above with the female Trico. Because you jiggle the camera really aggressively and then you regain control of the boy faster than you're supposed to. I'm sorry about this next cut here. It is so ugly. That's what I did it this morning. I'm sorry. That one. We're still right in front of Trico's head. It's the same spot. Just, the camera doesn't match and it irritates me. But, so yeah, you just like abuse the controller and the boy can move. And I don't know if it has something to do with, like the rate at which I paused or what, because that certainly does not happen every time. Sometimes the game doesn't even give you that scene where for like a brief moment you are the boy before it starts doing some different, you know, like camera stuff. Sometimes it doesn't even give you the option to do that. I don't know what the difference is. It's like sometimes it can't load the next thing, so it briefly just like shows you the boy, and then it's like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and it moves on. I don't know. I don't understand why this works. I have no conjecture. This was one of those things where it's just like, oh, okay, this is in here now. But, one of the other important things that we do, if you look down, you notice Trico has eaten both barrels, which is honestly huge. I don't know. I tried to throw them so that they would do the same thing as the beginning. Because, like, as you can see, Trico will attempt to eat barrels. Like, you don't have to be holding them in your hand. In this section, it's just much faster, usually, to do that. And so I tried to set it up the same as at the beginning of the game, where he ate both barrels. Like, where they're kind of, like, overlapping, and that's why he did it. So I don't know if he actually did that, or if he did actually just do a good job while I was gone and ate both of them. You know what I mean? So next step for me here is to try to get him to eat both of those at once, if possible. And there's our big save here, you know? That was more than 30 seconds. So I really want to see Trico eat both of those barrels at once. And so I tried a couple things. None of them worked. That doesn't mean that they can't work. It just means that in the time that I did it, it didn't work. I tried balancing barrels, which obviously is miserable, but that's, you know, just the same as the trophy where you have a barrel on top of a barrel in your arms. That didn't work. One of them always just went flying off into the middle of nowhere. I tried just again setting them both in front of him, and it never really worked very well. Like, it was always faster to just feed them. The other thing I tried was I put one in front of him, and then I climbed on him with the other, and when he opened his mouth to eat the one on the floor, I tried to drop the other one from his head into his mouth. And that never worked either, but I figured it was worth a try. So if we can get him to eat those two barrels, That would also be huge, because then we don't... Because between every barrel, you know, he eats it, and then he breathes hard for a while, and then he puts his head down, and then he lifts his head to eat the next one. So if we could just eliminate that puts his head down, lifts his head thing, either because he eats 2 barrels at once, or because for some reason he just doesn't do that part of the animation, that would be huge. Oh, it would have been so funny if he ate one of the barrels and I was just like, here, jam it into his mouth. Take this too. But unfortunately, what always happened when I tried to do that was just the one that was on the floor would go into his mouth, and then even if the other barrel did succeed in also landing kind of in that same space, when he closed his mouth, it would just like pop out. It would rocket out, in fact, because the physics had put like a squeeze on it, right? So I don't know, but that's... I really, really want to get that to work. And I think it can. At the very least, I think that with enough effort and time, we could get really lucky and have the double barrel Monch in front of his face. The problem is that the barrels thrown from above need to be really lucky. Because if you throw one barrel down to him, he'll already start trying to eat it. So the other one needs to be close enough that you can also throw that one in and kind of have them overlap in the time it takes him to like fully gear up to eat one. Which means that the barrels cannot just land at the base of the cliff, which is where they basically always land. And I don't know what to do about that. I almost wonder if maybe... But then you're kind of just wasting time. I was gonna say, I wonder if maybe you stack the barrels right on the edge of the cliff and then you run into them and you hope that the physics shoots one of them like really far. The one on top, probably. Might get like a weird interaction with the barrel underneath it. But at that point, like, you're setting up balancing barrels. And it's like, you might as well just feed Trico, you know? You're doing all of this setup to spend just as much time. I'm just thinking out loud. Don't mind me. Like, obviously it would be cool just to see if that was possible, but... This could be just a smidge faster. Pulled out the mirror a little early, and he drags it slowly when he's not focused on a part of the building, so... Could have been just a little faster. Not super big priority. I love going back to the actual clip at GDQ of him eating both barrels at once. Because if I remember, you know, obviously I was never expecting that to happen. So I was extraordinarily confused. And, you know, it's GDQ, so I'm giving a performance, right? I'm trying to be really engaging and with my commentary. And I'm pretty sure I just like stopped speaking. I was like, okay, what? What's happening? Which is why that part at the beginning with the double barrels is muted, because it came from the GDQ VOD. But without that, I never would have known it was possible. to have even attempted to do what I just did in the other section, you know? So it kind of compounded. We don't need this split. Right, exactly. Like, my thought process was like, did the barrel fall through the world? Like, what happened? But obviously, if it had, Trico would not have progressed. So, because we've had barrels fall through the world. That happened to me. I don't even remember what I was doing. I guess I must have been doing a snuggle in October or November of this year, so like a month or two ago. And we were at Nom Noms where we just were. And I threw one of the barrels down from up above and they're just gone. Just vanished into the world. And so we couldn't complete that section because the barrel just vanished. It was Snuggle. I'm remembering it now because I was on world record pace. And then the barrel just disappeared. Yeah, it was very funny. Do you have that clip, Aiden? Because having a Last Guardian death percent would be really funny. Because we have that, we have both Yuzu and I getting zooped at the lake, which is really funny for those who don't know. Zoop, or specifically the name is Yuzoop because Yuzu was the one who had the first video of it. Sometimes the game just like doesn't load right from the very beginning and you don't find out until you get to lake. And then when Trico walks forward to follow you into the water, he just kind of gets sucked into the wall. But like he like turns into a triangle kind of, like he genuinely gets sucked as if he is getting smaller as he's getting pulled into the wall, you know? It's really funny. It sucks because you have to like, sometimes you have to reinstall. Ooh, Aiden, what are you doing? I forgot that this was your clip. Why would you do that? Sometimes you have to like straight up reinstall the game because it's just like borked. And you made that jump without moving the camera to be like behind you. Absolute mad lad. Oh, now there's one thing in this section that I really, really want to do. And I have never been able to get it to happen again, unfortunately. When Trico jumps, I don't remember which one it is. Because there's two jumps that Trico does across here. One of them is right here. In one of them, when Trico, I was on his head, and I let go at just the right moment, that as he came crashing into the other building, I flew straight across the room. It must be the other one because this bridge is like way too long. Well, but I guess it could have been there. I flew straight across the room and I landed right in front of this lever. I suspect that if I can get that to happen again and I'm ready for it, I could cut the like flopping on the ground animation short and just move right into the lever grab animation. So Trico would essentially eject me right to the lever and I would already be pulling it. Because it would work by the same principle as skimming the levers, which we do throughout the run, to cancel the wobble animation. Or it would work the same as, like ledge grab. Not ledge grab, fall damage cancel. Right before Hodor. Where you, like, cut the boy's animation with another animation and it, like, interrupts it. And that's just in any percent. We know that that happens. So I see no reason why it wouldn't happen here as long as I could get Trico to launch me again. But again, I don't I don't have that on video, of course. Because again, that was part of my foolish days of not recording every single time I played this game. It must have been the one down below, because this one actually doesn't have a lever. Yeah, and Trico runs into the wall, so it must have been the first one. Oh no, this one has a lever also. But the way Trico ran into the wall sideways, it doesn't make sense why he would have been able to launch me into the room. And it wouldn't even save that much time. You know, that's kind of the sad thing about some of these ideas. It's like, oh, that's so cool. And then it saves you 3 seconds, you know? 2 or 3 seconds. Because there's another one. Brian actually was working on it for a long time. And never was able to get it to work. Which says something, because Brian is very good at that kind of thing. Right after you see the first Trico, or the other Trico for the first time, somebody delivered a package and Moxie was just like, grumble. When you see the other Trico for the first time, and you're kind of in that puddle, and then you go into the next room with the pillar, and you do pillar skip to just jump right onto Trico's face. Brian and I wondered, can you use the momentum of Trico getting up onto that pillar, if you're on his tail, to have his tail kind of hook you across the gap and land where the lever is. And he tried to do that for like a long time, and we were never able to get it to work. But I think that launches are probably underutilized in this TAS because they're so hard to do on purpose. Like, they happen fairly often, but never where you want them to. Like, it's really easy to launch when you're on the way to the mirror at the beginning, and it's like, what has this done for me? Oh no, Ouija. That sucks. Honestly, I was terrified of something like that happening for my Platfecta, because obviously the Platfecta was 36 hours. And I did not want to have to do that again. So I quadruple checked, like, did I have VOD saving on? Does it say that I'm live? Immediately after I went offline, even though I was exhausted, I highlighted it, I exported it to YouTube, I waited to make sure it said it was processing on YouTube, I downloaded it, like, you know, I was terrified. I think that's true, Aiden, because a lot of time the launches happen when you're kind of in like a weird, like right on the edge of something, like you're hanging off of Trico's head, and in a speedrun you don't want to be hanging off of Trico's head, you want to be standing, you know, so you're probably right that that's why it doesn't happen as much. It's almost like you have to be worse at it, worse in quotes, in order to get it to happen. I don't know why. Maybe you saw that stutter, or maybe it was just me. Why are we stuttering all of a sudden? If we could stop that, that would be great. I was so proud of this. I think I say this every year. I was so proud of this. Because I was working on just being able to get down to the floor and give Trico the forward command. And you can see that I like almost get a little bit too zealous here in a second. I almost fall to my death. Right there, I kind of like almost fall between the two. I was just trying to get down really fast and give Trico the command early. And then I was like, why can't I just run down this bridge? Is there anything stopping me from running down this bridge? And it seems so obvious in retrospect. Like, yeah, why did we never try to do this? It's much harder than it looks. Like, I would not recommend it for any percent. 99% of the time, when I dropped from Trico's face, I just fell off the side. So, I do remember that. Yeah, good luck doing that better again, right? Very happy with that. But now is where things get, like, just a blast. I didn't quite split in time. We didn't actually lose that second. Like, I had so much fun putting this part of the run together during whatever year it was that I did this. This might have been 2 or 3 years ago now. And, like, I guess I should have jumped off of Trico's head there, but then, like, maybe this armor wouldn't have been right here to grab me, because he needs to grab me, like, immediately up against the wall. Because then Trico is, like, messing with me against the wall, and that's how you end up in here. Because there's 2 invisible walls there. There's one on the outside of the tower and one on the inside of the tower, and they're, like, the boy's width apart. So Trico has to actually shove you, like, really far. And then you have to jump, like, diagonal ways like that. You can't just jump straight across. So we got a touch. I don't know if this technically counts as elevator skip. It shouldn't. Because this is elevator skip, but... And it's so fun because, like, you can see behind these helmets. And we skipped that little scene there, which is possible. Hey, Yuzu, nice to see you. But yeah, like, when you're falling down, like, through the place and you're past the invisible walls, it's so fun to be able to see behind these helmets because each of them has just, like, that big, long, green rectangle for whatever reason. I'm not sure why that would need to be there, but... It also took me a long time to do this, which is, like, the ideal way to do it in an any %, so this isn't necessarily, like, my creation or anything. But it took me, like, longer than I would have expected. Like, I had to donk that guy in order to get him to not follow me. And, like, doing it this way kind of feels bad, you know, because it feels like it takes longer than doing it the other way, but the timestamps indicate that that is not true. I remember doing this when I was getting this footage. I remember being frustrated because sometimes it would be going, like, really well, and then right at the end when I would use the mirror, the boy would just decide, for whatever reason, to zip over to the wall, like as if he was going to put the mirror in the plinth, right? Like he decided that was the circle button input that I wanted to do, and he would just, like, negate all of my progress because I would get captured, obviously. I think we might have a 2-phase fight here. It seems to me to be that you can mess with this fight kind of the same as the pausing. Like, I think if you just really overwhelm the game, we can get cool things to happen, you know? Because that first overwhelming the game kind of, haha, came from just right at the fight with the other Trico. That thing that we always do where we just, like, jam the camera and then we can move a little early. But I kind of think, like, it's not really worth it in an any %, you know? But I think that if we just keep dying here, I don't know if it's just that the game has pity on you. I don't think that's the case because sometimes you can get a 4-phase fight, you know? But I think that if you just keep dying here and, like, continue to just reload these guys, eventually the game is like, I don't know, man. You know? I don't remember. It might have been you, Yuzu, who got the 4-phase fight. I don't remember anymore. Yeah, I mean, this is 2nd phase, or 3rd phase. And we've only done one, so this has to be a two-phase fight. Because that guy wouldn't have come out with a shield otherwise. That second guy. And double hit there, obviously, is pretty good. It destroyed me, yeah. But I think we would be much better off. Like, if we're gonna work on ruining the fights, I think we would be much better off trying to get a 0 armor spawn on Colosseum than on trying to somehow manipulate this further, you know? Because that seems like, of the things that we might possibly break, that seems like maybe an actual thing, you know? Like, I don't know if it's frame perfect. It depends on how the game treats it. Because if the game has Colosseum plus one guy loaded, then nothing that we do could stop that guy from spawning. But if it's Colosseum and then one guy, then there is a frame in there where he doesn't exist. A play along to Walters? That sounds very exciting. I am so not prepared to do any kind of Tricofecta. Like, I'm actually not the worst at Shadow anymore. I'm not great, let's be real. But I'm not the worst at Shadow anymore. It's just, even when I was actively trying to be, like, good at Eco, I just really was not, you know? There's just something about that that just never clicked. So Tic Tacs, I'm pretty good at Eco time, is still like 6 minutes or something faster than mine. And yeah, I can make up a lot of that with Last Guardian. Because I would be striking ideally somewhere between 312 and 316. But... Thank you, Yuzu. The other thing that's a problem with Shadow is that I've done so many ILs that when it comes to setting things up for just an any percent, like you have to do Bassaran different in any percent, I like don't know what I'm doing, you know? Cheesed our way into that tunnel. I like that. That's cute. I specifically remember that Sancho was the one who clipped that. That happened during an actual live stream. But yeah, I think in this run probably, like, obviously clipping into White Tower, I love. But also the box launch at the puzzle where Trico has to put his tail down for you in the water, I think is probably one of my favorite things in here. Oof, that is so not pushed in there. Oh, so there's some things that have been a little bit different. So yeah, I mean, I don't mind trying Tricofecta again, because I think even my last Guardian time wasn't that great. It was like a 320 or something, but... And obviously speaking from the perspective of someone for whom Last Guardian is the game that I'm good at, a 320 is not really what I would want to see in a Tricofecta. Ooh, landed on our feet. Right in front of that thing. You love to see it. Because yeah, when we did the relay, the Tricofecta relay for Really Really Longathon last year, I got a 312 in Last Guardian, or a 313 or something. I was within 30 seconds of my former world record, which is now second place. Which is just wild, you know? But the fact that I did that with no D-Rust indicates that my Tricofecta time could come down by a lot just from Last Guardian. But I don't think it's going to be enough to catch somebody like Tic Tac. Which is fine, you know, it's just for fun, but... I'm not really sure how we might approach the end game here. Like, obviously just doing these little movements, I think we're pretty good on, you know? Like, the reason I just stood there for a second is because the boy can't move. It's not because I was just, you know, picking my nose or something. Seem to recall I split the— well, okay. Tic Tac wants to redo the Trigofecta, but he refuses to touch TLG without me holding his hand. It can be daunting, you know? I kind of feel that way about Shadow sometimes. That's right, Aiden. He has no excuse. Tic Tac has abandoned the chat because he doesn't want to hear the truth. So yeah, I'm not really sure what we can do about this. I guess, you know, I could try to just mess with this scripted flight the way that we just messed with the other stuff, you know? But something tells me that's just going to be completely fruitless. Because if we could skip this flight, obviously huge, that takes forever. And I've tried, you know, because if you're on Trico, he reacts based on where you are on him to some extent. Which is why, for things like the U-wall jump right at the beginning before the first cage, where you are on his head kind of helps, because you can encourage him to look up by moving like to his cheek. So my thought process was, you know, can we do the same thing with this Trico that is about to fly around? And as far as I could see, the answer is no, because that Trico is on a scripted path. Which also makes it problematic because it's scripted and there are no obstacles. So it would never have any reason to do anything other than exactly what it always does. So I don't really see how we could get this out of the run. Yes, you can fall off. Which doesn't help, unfortunately, because you go back to that spot where you... after you reset there. Thanks for hanging out, Yuzu. It was nice to see you. So you can see, like, I'm changing the camera angle and stuff, and I'm, like, climbing around in an attempt here to be on his left shoulder in the hope that he'll take that, like, a little tighter. And he did, I don't know if you saw the camera, like, bump a little bit, as if it did run into the tower. But I really don't think that it makes a difference, you know? Because here's the little twist, and, like, that's always the same. Like, there's a possibility. It's hard to tell where he is in relation to the tower. I think he's way too far that if you chose the specific time to let go of him during this, or like to fall off of him, that you would land on the tower. You know what I mean? Like, if the tower's right beneath you right now, you might be able to land on the tower, and sure, you would die, but maybe you've checkpointed, you know? But, like, based on that, he's never high enough and close enough to the tower, I don't think. It's always fun to brainstorm this kind of stuff, you know? Yeah, I don't see how it's skippable, unfortunately. Almost there. And we will watch the scenes at the end. I like to have a complete VOD. And sadly, no sub 240. I did really want that this year, but you work with what you got. And obviously we're going to land on our feet. Wouldn't be in the TAS if we didn't. That can be a little bit faster, but I'm not super worried about it. And first shot, or again, it wouldn't be in the TAS. So 240-35, we gotta save 36 seconds, chat. Because I want sub 240. I have saved the splits now, so. Considering all of the effort put into the TAS, I think that still having something like 36 seconds of save is very good. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to get to a point, I think, at some point where we're just saving like 6 seconds or something. But for now, we're still digging pretty sizable chunks out of this. And I want to do that next year. Like, I don't want sub 240 to come 4 years from now, you know? Because we carved away at it in 10-second increments. I want to save, I mean, let's just say 40 seconds next year, you know? So if anybody would like to, anybody has ideas or would like to try to grind something out, I am more than happy to provide some suggestions. If you have a clip and you're not sure whether it's faster, send it to me and I will time it. Sancho did that. He actually had like a really good, at the fight with the other Trico where we did the tail thing, he had a really, really good jump there. And sadly mine was better, but only by like 2 seconds or something. So he did like a really, really good job. But I've got just lists and lists of things that we can still try. Some of these things are easy. The double eye shield fight, like that's just free. There's like 5 seconds in there that's just free. But I really like every year to have some notable thing. Whether it's like the glitch into White Tower, the box launch, or whatever. Like, I really hope to have one of those every year. And I would love if it was pendulum room skip to the eye. You know? Or the lever launch like I was talking about in Two Towers. Launching from his head straight to the lever. Either of those I would consider to be like monumental, right? But those are just the things that I can think of. Obviously, you play through, you have weird things happen, and you're like, oh, okay, this is a thing. You know? And sometimes you have to just kind of have weird ideas. Do you think it's possible? I guess probably not. To somehow just have Trico destroy the master early, like get his lightning through the wall or something. We have the mirror at that point. I wonder if you can get Trico to shoot through the little tunnel that you climb in to get to the master. There's no way, right? I hope you get it figured out, Aiden. I really do. Okay, I'm actually gonna write that down because it's kind of funny. There's no way that works, but I'm gonna try it because if you always have the opinion that there's no way that works, then the task doesn't happen. It never improves. Yeah, feels like the game would check. I feel like it because otherwise you'd be standing in the hallway and suddenly the game would be over and you'd be like, what? And then Trico just pops out of the top of the White Tower in this cutscene, like, mangled. And you're like, what happened? But the interesting thing is, if you play this game and you have the gamma cranked, when the armors take you into the doors, like if you let them capture you, you can see inside the door, you can see the master. You can see his orb, you can see his room. So that maybe provides a little bit of hope that he is there. You know, it's not like he is unloaded. So, really, yeah. It's, I have a picture of it, I think, in... Actually, I'm positive that I have a picture of it in the Discord. Let me look real quick. I'll go find it. I'll go find it while we're watching the cutscenes here. What would I have called it? Let's just look for master, I guess. Oh yeah, it's literally right here. I'll just hold that open in Discord, and then when we're done with the cutscenes, I'll screen capture it. You think the master's in the new game somehow, some way? He has to be. I think they're all the same entity. And if I remember the trailer, it's probably just like whatever that giant black wave is just that same energy, you know? That same energy that was around the queen or was around the master or whatever. I did see an interesting thing, though, where people did point out that when you're in Eco and you open one of the gate doors, the big orb on top that lights up looks like basically exactly like the master. And I had never noticed that before. I thought that was cool. It probably means nothing, but the same as the fact that there is a pool in the Master's Chamber in this game that looks exactly like the Shadow of Colossus pool. Probably means nothing, but you know. I like in this scene that Trico calms down at your whisper. Because that's progressed throughout the game, right? Like the very first time he gets angry, you cannot progress. Well, unless you use helmet skip, of course. You cannot progress unless you pet him. So like yelling at him doesn't do anything. And then as you go through the game, you can just shout at him and eventually he'll calm down. And the amount of time that takes decreases as the game goes on. So, I mean, you saw in Colosseum, I only had to call him like 3 times. And then he was like, oh yeah, sure, I'm fine, whatever. So the fact that in this scene, you can just barely say Trico, and he calms down basically instantly, is like a testament to the development that you've had together, you know? I like that a lot. Like, even among all of that, he was listening very careful for you. I'm debating whether we should have the credits. I mean, I guess we should have the credits. Like, we're gonna have them this year because they're in the file, but I guess we should have the credits because they are part of the game. And they do kind of show a unique perspective. The perspective in the credit, these little scenes will shift as we go through it. I feel like most people don't notice that, but... Smart storytelling, yes, very, very, What's the word I'm looking for? Not latent or like subtle, but I'll think of it. Subtextual. That's the word I was thinking of. Because subtextual doesn't actually have to mean text. It's subtextual storytelling. So you see, now we've like flipped. We flipped from the boy's perspective to Trico's perspective. We're looking through Trico's eyes during this part of the credits. And that'll happen like a couple more times. But yeah, I gotta think about what I want to change next year. I have to play through and see what happens if you shoot that into the hole. I think one of the problems would probably be that you can't get it to go straight through because Trico's head is too high and his head is in the way if you stand on his back. So we would have to be ready to shoot essentially the moment that he jumps up there. I'm trying to think it, like, work through it in my brain. We'd have to be ready to shoot the moment he jumps up there. But when he jumps up, he's kind of sitting, which means that you can't shoot because you're holding on. So there would have to be a way. You might have to trick him to spin around. I wonder how you would do that. Brainstorming. But yeah, I can... Ouija, you're right. I can basically guarantee that that's not gonna do anything. Because even if it did, like, pretend that you could shoot through that tunnel and the lightning, like, continued and it hit the very center of that room. It would be destroying the, like the grabby circular platform in the middle that you climb up. The master is down below that. So, you know, your only real chance would be to get it to, like, cheese through the floor somehow. You know, what would happen if you tried to get Trico to shoot through the White Tower when you were inside of it? Like, glitched inside of it before you fell. The master isn't visually loaded, but that doesn't mean that his data isn't there. You know, if you could figure out where in space he was floating, and this is obviously the big presumption that Trico could even shoot through the wall to begin with. Like, just because you're in the wall doesn't mean that his tail is in the wall. But again, like, these are the kind of weird things that you have to think about to still find 30-second time saves, you know? Because if that worked, you would genuinely save, like, 15 minutes. You would... That would be hilarious, actually, because you would arrive at the White Tower, you wouldn't do the first fight, and then the game would be over. Which would be hilarious. But I mean, the fact that you can just fall... Because I've done that glitch more than once. And I have video of it somewhere. I think I posted it in the TLG Discord at some point of what happens if you just let the boy fall. Because when I'm inside the White Tower, like falling in order to cheat my way past that first fight, I do a checkpoint reset as soon as I touch the, like, fake floor in there, because that's what gets you to the elevator. But you can keep falling. You can keep falling for like 15 minutes. And it's funny because the further you fall, the slower the boy falls. So the clip that I have, which, like I said, I'm pretty sure I posted in the TLG Discord, is the boy after he'd been falling for like 20 minutes. Like, I just walked away and came back a while later. and he's just like doing the most slow motion, like mid-air run, and it's very funny. But the fact that he can fall like that and not hit anything probably indicates that nothing about the master is in there. So even if Trico's tail could go through, I'm not sure that it would matter. Yeah, ideally you want to test it hundreds of times. Yeah, no, I got it, I think 4 times, 4 or 5. Because it's so, well, I got the full glitch 4 or 5. I want to say 4. I got halfway probably 12 to 15 times. Because like I said, there's 2 walls there. And the majority of the time, Trico pushes you through the first one, but not the second one. And so you end up just like trapped between these 2 walls and you have to reset. Because to my recollection, you can't even like jump or anything between those 2 walls. It's too tight. So yeah, I just really had to be careful because I knew I wasn't going to get that glitch very much. So the first time I went in there, I just really carefully wandered around until I accidentally walked off of something because there was like a texture but not collision, right? So I just like walked off of an edge. The second time, I tried to run over and just make the jump straight across. And that didn't work because it's too far. And then I believe that I tried to do the diagonal jump and failed, and then I think that I did the diagonal jump, succeeded, and then just inferred that I would need to wait until I touched that floor down there in order to reset. Because previously, you know, when I fell, I was testing different heights at which I fell, but I was always doing it pretty quickly, so. Yeah, I don't remember. Well, no, it wouldn't have happened that way because I knew that you could fall really far. I don't remember. But once we see this little ending part, I'll show you. If I don't know if Ouija, if you're still here, I'll show you inside the door that I was talking about because I have it pulled up. And I mean, obviously, I hit the circle button during this scene because why wouldn't you do that? There you go. I mean, you have to, you know? You gotta do it. The end. So we've done it. Next year, I really hope to have sub 240. But hang around just a second. I gotta figure out how to capture, I'm gonna hide this. I have to figure out how to capture the Discord. You know, I'm just gonna add a completely new source. Don't mind me. It doesn't have to be pretty, I just want to show you. We are gonna capture Discord. And then we are going to transform, fit to screen. So there you go. You can see, like, you're looking through the door, you can see those ramps that go up toward the master. Obviously, this is the master's orb. So, yeah, I thought that was, like, super cool that you can actually see the master in there. And I think that this was the door, I'm pretty sure that's the door in the first cage. I don't remember quite where that door was, but I do remember that it was really far from the master. So it wasn't just, you know, looking in from inside the White Tower, which was wild to me. So that makes me also kind of wonder, like, when the armors are coming out during the final fight, and you know they leave their shields inside the door, if you do it right, if I can have Trico primed and shoot into the open door, I wonder what would happen. You know? That would be ridiculous. So anyway, thank you so much everybody for hanging out. Let me turn captions off so we can see who we want to raid. We got Flygon, we got Ruby. And that is basically it. I think. Hey Chassis, nice to see you. How you doing? You got spoiled on the time. On how much we saved. But we're gonna go over to Ruby, I think. And that's it for Treaksmas. Thank you so much everybody for hanging out. I think we had another wonderful Treaksmas. It's great to celebrate Last Guardian for the entirety, mostly, of December. I will not be streaming for the rest of the year, either because of Christmas or because after that we have a friend coming over who's staying for like 5 or 6 days. So have a wonderful Christmas. If you celebrate a different holiday, have a great holiday. If you don't, have a wonderful December, you know, and a good New Year. January 1st is my birthday, but I don't think we're doing anything fun. So there's that. I'll post in my Discord, obviously. Like, I'll still be around a lot. And I'll post in my Discord what we're gonna do when we come back in the new year. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dragon Sage. But this was really wonderful. This will go up on YouTube as well, so you can rewatch it if you don't want to watch the VOD. Say hi to Ruby when you get over there. They're playing Mario Kart World, and also maybe teaching you how to do perler art. I'm not sure if they're done with that, but say hi when you get over there. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful December, everybody, and I will see you next year. Bye!